Many parents in England have been left devastated after being told that they can't cheer on their kids at Sports Day due to COVID restrictions. Meanwhile, in contrast, the Prime Minister has improved 65,000 fans attending the Euros at Wembley this week. So, is it right to ban parents from sports days to ensure COVID safety in the light of all these circumstances? Well, joining us is Executive Principal Samantha Williamson, who says it's blessing to have the event go ahead at all because it's been so many challenges. And Dad of three, Anthony Costa, who says he's been unfairly banned from his daughter's sports day next week. Good to see both of you this morning. So, Anthony, you are cross. You'd like to be able to go along like any parent wants to for that sports day. But why do you think it's unfair?
I just think, good morning, everyone. I just think it's unfair because we're in the outside, we're supporting our kids. It's been a tough year for everybody. And obviously we couldn't go last year because of what was happening in the world, and that's absolutely fine. But now it's the outside. If they want us to, if the teachers or the staff want us to wear masks, that's fine. But just go and support our kids. Do you know what I mean? It's been so tough. It's just really, really hard. And we got an email yesterday, and obviously the teachers and the have to abide by the rules, and rightly so. But I'm just really, really upset that I can't go and cheer my daughter on next week in an egg and spoon race. I bet you are. You're probably sad there is no parents' race either. I can imagine you. I'm not sure he's sad about that. Sorry? No, Ben, I've been limbering up and everything. I bet you have. I can just see it in your eyes. I'd, of course, be relieved not to have to do that. I mean, Samantha, it must be... I mean, we know that it's been very, very challenging for teachers all the way through, having to deal with the constant changes and all the things that they've had to face and handle throughout this. But you must understand how this feels like the final straw to many parents and many children.
Yeah, I do. I think we all do in education. I think it's a really tough call, to be honest with you. And it is for us as well. We really enjoy having parents in, and schools have not been the same places at all. But I think we've had to make a decision based on localised factors. So the Delta variant is rising really rapidly in Bristol. So we had to make a judgment call towards the end about whether or not that was a risk worth taking. And I think it's kind of, I do understand absolutely how you feel, but it's short-term loss, I think, for longer-term gain. So the last thing we want is children having to self-isolate during the first 2 weeks of their school holidays. I
wonder, Dr. Amir's with us. Dr. Amir, what's the sort of the medical advice on this? Because, as Anthony says, we're sitting outside. We can have our masks on if they want to have our masks on. We will ensure that we're away from the other parents. Surely there is space for us to be in that sort of environment.
Yeah, to be honest, medically speaking, outside is the safest place to be, particularly with socially distancing, wearing masks. Perhaps schools can think about lateral flow tests for parents before the sports day as well. There are ways to make this safer. The medical reasons, I guess, you know, if we're really thinking about it, is even when you're outdoors, yes, the risk is low, but if you're in close proximity with people, particularly for 15 minutes or longer, if you're talking to them and you're not socially distancing, there is a risk that you could get it. But the risk is low outside. We've got to be clear on that. And I think it's difficult. Schools are in a really difficult position because they're caught between the regulations and the guidelines, and parents who are seeing these huge organised events going ahead. And I'm really not enviable of their position, but outdoors is the safest place if they can socially distance.
Why is it not manageable, Samantha? Is it just the reality that parents get excited and can't help but mingle, especially when they've been separated for so long? Is there no way that you could make it work?
So there are, it depends on your site, really, to be honest with you, and there are some complications around our school site, and there are things like access to toilets. Now, the reality is I can't put on an event in which families can't access toilets, and once they're accessing toilets, then they're in the building, and that's absolutely contrary to the regulations at the moment. So it is a really complex thing. I think if we had relaxed further and we had kind of come further out of the restrictions, we would all have been more than happy to actually have parents on site, but we just don't feel quite comfortable to be able to do it yet.
Anthony, we've had quite a lot of teachers get in touch with us this morning on this subject. Marco says, I'm a teacher in North Yorkshire. We're We spent hours and hours looking at risk assessments, putting measures into place and doing our best to make the right decision to keep everyone safe. OK, the parents miss on a sports day, but is that really a bigger deal when we're potentially saving lives? And then this one's anonymous, saying, I work in a primary school. We're dealing with this outbreak all the time, as well as trying to provide an education. Every day is challenging, ensuring children and staff stay safe. We're dealing with enough at the minute at this challenging time. The schools do not have enough open space to distance outside. Certain schools, of course, will have different facilities that they can employ. Do you have sympathy with the school's position on this? And actually, from their perspective, being able to have this event take place for the kids is more important than the parents being able to be there to join in?
Listen, of course, Ben. Listen, I completely get that the teachers and they have to follow the guidelines, and rightly so, because we don't want one rule for one and one rule for another in terms of schooling. And I think us parents have been completely respectful in the rules and all the changes that have been made. This homeschooling, if someone has a positive COVID test, positive COVID in the class, then we have to self-isolate for 10 days. We've done all that, and then rightly so, because we are following the rules. But it's outside. If the schools did like a, years reception 1 and 2, in the first hour and a half, and then the rest of the school afterwards, it's not really I don't think it's a major issue. And as I said, we're outside. Even if they did it for one parent per child, I don't know, just so we can see our kids and put a smile on their faces, because it's been such a tough year. I'm not saying that I'll never break the rules. Of course, I'll always follow the rules, but a common sense has to prevail now. It just feels like another nail in the coffin. Do you know what I mean? It's just never ending. Sorry.
I think, and there are many, many parents getting in touch with us feeling the same way. Samantha, do you think you should have had more help with the government in able to make these things happening? Because that's what a lot of people are very cross about. Why is it that there are all these events, Ascot, G7, Formula 1 and Euros, can happen when simple things that make a difference to ordinary people can't? Of course, you've explained it's because they have the facilities and the money to put the proper precautions in place. Is there an argument for you saying, well, give us that?
I think it is really complicated, and there does seem to be a two-track, doesn't there? So there is a certain irony, isn't there, about watching en masse activities in football stadiums and then being told you can't be in your child's school. And I think that's been sort of characteristic of the approach with schools. Often we've had advice and guidance right at the last minute, and it's really difficult to respond to fast enough. And it does seem like it's a bit of a disjointed picture. I think there are some really good points that have been made, and actually I think if things relax a little more and we can really consider whether we might be able to stagger the events, as you've suggested, maybe we can have another look at it in a week or so's time. We've still got kind of 2.5 weeks before the events go ahead, so there might still be a chance that we can move forward.
OK, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you for joining us this morning, Samantha and Anthony. I'm sorry that you're going to miss that parents' race, Ant, as well.
Oh, I know, mate. As I said, I've got my trainers ready, and that's got to collect us for another year, mate.
You'll be so primed to go across that finish line next year.
Think how fit you will be.
We did ask you on Twitter, actually, should parents be stopped from going to sports days? 20% said yes. 80% said no. So, Anthony, they're with you and your spirit all the way. We've got other things to talk to you about, Dr. Mir Khan. Thanks for joining us in that debate.